fascinating, interesting debate show is live in the huddle.
If the Hawks can't be that team that makes the Cinderella season in the playoffs like they did last year, they were the Cinderellas last year. A couple years ago in the bubble, Miami was a Cinderella, and it's crazy how it might align them playing each other. If the Hawks can get past Cleveland, you will have those two teams duking it out in the first round, I believe. But if not the Hawks, then who? Who could be this year's Cinderella? All right, I know ultimately, me personally, with my predictions, I really feel that the teams expected to win a championship or be in there is going to be there. But who can possibly be last year's Atlanta Hawks, if not the Hawks again?
I think, my friends are going to kill me when they hear this because I always joke about them every time. But the Minnesota Timberwolves could be that Cinderella team this year. When you look at Anthony Edwards, he balled out with Karl Anthony Towns fouling out for only 5 points. You look at D'Lo, who had 29. You look at Pat Beverly, who was playing defense, who could still spot up, shoot threes, disrupt the opposing team's most efficient player, not usually the best player, the most efficient player. And in this series against the Grizzlies, it's going to be role players versus role players because of how stout both teams' role players really play. They play extremely well, even when the star players are not there and locked in on them at their best. So I think it's going to be a game where Karl Anthony Towns is going to have to show up, and the guys like Jared Vanderbilt, guys like Pat Beverly, guys like Malik Beasley, they're going to have to really play those X-factor roles and how this game could go on. D'Lo and Anthony Edwards could get 20 points at any time, but the role players have to step up and really eliminate like DeAnthony Melton from the Grizzlies, Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bane, try to get Jaren Jackson off his off his rocker, off his game. Kyle Anderson, make sure he's off the board. So it's going to be a role player game where it's going to be gritty from the game 1 all the way to game 7, because I see it going 2-7. I think the Timberwolves have a Cinderella story where they could potentially get to a Western Conference Finals if everything works out in their favor.
I like that pick. I really do. I actually like this series. This is probably my favorite series out of the group, right up there with the Nets and the Celtics. Literally. And what a game, first off. I know this game happened a couple days ago, but I think clearly, hands down, that was the best game out of them all in the play-in tournament against the Clippers, right? You saw the emergence of Ant, taking that next level, that next step. He crazy from downtown, getting to the rack. He was like, listen, they just can't guard me out here. You know what I'm saying? And he showed that. But Pat Beverly, you talk about guys like Ray John Rondo. You talk about guys like Pat Beverly. These guys are the 10-year dudes in the NBA, guys that are leaders. They're not the flashiest dude. They're not going to, have you jumping out the gym or things of that nature and have you having popcorn in your seat. But these are guys that are important. I think Pat Bev, he kind of gets a negative, energy out there like he's a useless player. Even the Clippers thought he was useless because they let him walk. They didn't give him his money, and that's indicative of how they felt about him. But in all honesty, Pat Bev can play on my team any day of the week, literally. Being a physical defender, being able to anticipate coaching schemes and player tendencies. He was able to do so against the Clippers, his former team. He just was all over. Like, I'm watching the game. Everywhere the ball is, Pat Beverly is there. Spike Lee couldn't film or wrote a better script. He the one that ended up with the ball when the game was over, the last play. Like, he was just everywhere. Guys that are leaders, out there and just offering that leadership on the court, I think is undeniable. And I think when you talk about an undisciplined team, like the Timberwolves, because they are undisciplined. They were very undisciplined in that game, in the playing game, and throughout the year, they were able to overcome it. Having that leadership is key. And I think they will make an interesting series with the Grizzlies.
The Can You Dig It Sports Radio Network is here. Revolutionize the game of media. Be a dig.